Good morning, beautiful.
Good morning. Happy Saturday.
You look so beautiful. And then
Oh,
also
thank
the
you.
clothes that you're doing makes you even more beautiful. And then you're a black woman and you're doing this to make
Yes.
things better for others. Like,
You gotta do what you gotta do.
you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like we make stuff out of just always
Nothing.
having to try to do something,
Yep.
just trying to make it one up in the system. And they always trying to trick us, but then made us the most educated and the most entrepreneurial and the most giving back and just trying to do the best for those around us.
Mhm.
So
I totally agree. We're always just trying to, go the extra mile to help others. So
thank you so much. I'm so happy for anybody that's doing anything for others. And I'm always just grateful and appreciative because I know you didn't have to do that. And there are so many other people who wouldn't have done anything at all.
hmm
So thank you for seeing the need and filling that in.
yes, absolutely. Thank you for acknowledging that. And I just think the main thing is, when you go through different periods of transition in life, you don't really think about other people in your situation because all you're thinking about is elevating your own. But I had the idea and I was just like, there's no way that if what I'm feeling and what I'm going through, it feels like it's the worst of the worst. But I know other women or, those who menstruate, like they could have kids, they have a whole family, or it could just be themselves, or they could be homeless. So I know the situation could always be worse. So that's why it really just made me think about how I could help others.
All right. All right, so let me go ahead. I already sent you over the script, so I'm gonna go through my little intro. I try to tweak it the best, and I know you got somewhere to be after this, and so do I. So I'm gonna try to hurry up and make this quick. All right, so my show is How Do We Get Here, Homie? I used to be a history teacher, and I'm a history nerd. I taught social studies for about 11 years, so I'm very passionate about history and research and then also kind of like tying history into what's going on with us today and definitely the societal issues that plague us. And your foundation periods of transition is definitely one of those. All right. So on today's How Do We Get Here, Home, we will be focusing on period poverty, basically right here in the United States, because we know as most other countries, they have universal health care. Um, and period poverty is it's a terrible thing, especially for those of us who menstruate. Especially because here in the United States, we know it's capitalistic. So everything is for profit and let's make money as best as possible, as fast as possible. And definitely one of those is how they brand, market, and then price female products as compared to male products. Especially when it comes to grooming and hygiene. We already had the pink tax, on just you buying a razor. If you buy a pink razor, it's more expensive than the blue one just because it's literally pink. And it's like, I, what?
It just don't make sense.
Right, at all. And then also, it kind of doesn't make sense that all these products that we have for our menstruation were really created by men. These companies are run by men. Most of their development is by men. And then we have to realize that, I'm an 80s baby. So, you know, seeing all these commercials and every time they show menstruation, it was always a blue liquid. And come to find out that was because they didn't want to ick men out with red. And it's like, but they see this every day if they have a woman in their household.
hmm
Why are we hiding these realities from people? And it's not really people, it's just more or less like some men, and some women, because there are some that have that kind of misogynistic lean as
Yeah.
well, you know. Um, so period poverty is definitely something that hurts us all as those who menstruate because the prices are exceedingly high for what they can. Because the health industry, like I said, is for profit. So they're making money every single step of the way they can. If it's the next TikTok health trend, like turmeric's been that big thing, or these new pills that everybody has, and you can just go to a website and put in your insurance and you can get this medication over the internet now, especially when it comes to like hair, nails, and even weight loss drugs now. Like the way that they've turned diabetic medicine into a for-profit like beauty must-have now for this aesthetic, and it's sad because most people who really need this medicine have been priced out of this medicine for years on end. All right, sorry. We got into it and I was like, oops, where am I? All right, so they said things for women are definitely, I'm sorry, those who menstruate are definitely harder, especially when we know that, again, most things for women are made by men. And that definitely includes the gynecological field. I'm not sure if you've experienced male gynecologists, but I've kind of,
I can't do that.
I've tried a couple of times, and it's just like there's not that connection there. There's not that personal understanding of what I'm going through right now.
Yeah.
And they just can't do it. So, most advice to women, those who menstruate is tough luck, and then it's even harder being a Black woman trying to get gynecological care, especially when we don't have a provider that looks like us. Yes. And I've dealt with that even in Black areas where I've dealt with non-Black providers, non-Black women providers who have treated me less than anything when I'm trying to get help.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy, and that definitely goes back to the start of gynecology, because as we know, the founder was racist, he was vile, and he was doing experiments on enslaved women because of that age-old myth that Blacks feel less pain, and how that still runs through Western medicine today. Like that still affects us in hospitals today. Mm-hmm. And I'm a chronic pain sufferer, and I have gynecological issues. I've been bouncing in and out of ERs, urgent cares, and everything, trying to get help. And all I get is, we didn't find anything wrong, take some Tylenol, go lay on the heating pad. And it's like, but I can't work.
Right. Bills are still due. What we gonna do?
Right.
That should be a quote. Bills are still due. What we gonna do?
Right. It's like if I go in there, they're looking at me and they're like, I know I can't ask for certain pain meds. I know I can't do that. Because even how I show up and present, they're still going to look at me like nothing.
Yes, absolutely. Because they'll probably think like, oh, she looks fine. She's not in that much pain from the eye,
Mm-hmm. Right. And then the sad fact that there's just like no updates to gynecology. Most medical research is steered towards white men and white men only. So we don't even know how pain affects women or even Black women, more or less.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna try to hurry up.
No, take your time. Don't feel rushed.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right. So then not only is gynecology bad, but going back to period poverty, it's like we're just now finding out like how dangerous and how toxic just the products that we've been using since we were in our teens are for us and raise the risk of cancer in our bodies. And it seems like nobody really cared. And actually, even the government didn't put stipulations on period product companies saying what is actually in their materials. So there was an NIH study in 2020 that looked at these women's products and saw how they were toxic and hurting, because I remember looking at your list and how you wanted organic products for women.
Yes.
As compared to those.
Yeah, that was my main thing. I just think just because like your situation changes, you shouldn't be kept away from certain things that are considered luxury. Like, right, like organic tampons are luxury because they're a little bit more expensive. but also it's just like, what really is a luxury? Like, this is a necessity, and I think that should be the base, at least for everyone who, if they have an option, they should be able to be like, all right, I want organic pads and tampons, or I just have to get what's available. Like, though I feel like those days are long gone, and we still have the option, but it's just harder to really push that out there, especially with the government, to be like, hey, this is a need, and we need to be providing people, especially unemployed people, women or those who menstruate, with these free products.
Mhm. There's actually, they just introduced the bill in June of this year called the Menstruating for All Act, in order to help provide free period products for those who menstruate, not only in K through 12 schools, higher education, government and state buildings as well, and also provide those to those who are getting welfare programs and those being included and being for free. And then also, I didn't know that they made those who are incarcerated and those who are detained pay for their period products.
Oh yeah, that's news to me. I mean, but then again, I'm not surprised.
You know,
Like, it sucks. It really sucks.
and it's like it hasn't even advanced. It's just like been bought up and it hasn't been advanced at all. And it's over 20 representatives that are on there supporting this bill from different states, saying, let's do this for all, let's give them these products, let's do it for free. And I remember the whole argument of, I don't want my boy having pads in the bathroom. And it's like, but he lives at home with his mom.
Right, right. Very ignorant.
And literally, they're in full display in a whole section in every grocery store and big box store.
I mean, you can get condoms at the gas station, so I mean, why not? Periods and tampons the same way. Like, it should be able to have the same accessibility as everything else.
Right. I didn't understand the uproar though at all. It was like, I don't put those in my boy's bathroom. And I was like, what do you think they're gonna do with them? What do you absolutely think they're gonna do with these?
Right.
How is this gonna change anything?
Mm-hmm.
So that goes in to say that, today's show is about period poverty and how that affects a lot of people here menstruating. Because in the NIH study, they said over half the US population menstruates. And in that time, they're going to go through at least 10,000 plus period products that they're going to have to use over an average of 40 years of menstruating, and other research has shown that, before most girls will get the periods at 13, but due to things like chemicals in our food that they're using, that we're ingesting, toxins in the air, and also, just stressors such as like poverty or like abuse in households, it's causing a lot of people to start menstruating earlier than what they used to. So now we're seeing children starting to menstruate as early as 9 years old.
Yeah.
And that age, like it was 12, but now it's slipping earlier and earlier and earlier.
Yeah.
And that's crazy because those are elementary school kids. I don't think people realize that these are elementary children who are starting to menstruate.
Yeah.
Like
I
this
was
is a
definitely a early menstruator. I believe I started in like 5th or 6th grade. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
mhm. Most start 5th grade, right at the end of elementary school or right at the beginning of 6th grade, which is middle school. And it's like nobody seems to realize that this is a little child who doesn't understand anything. They're still playing with dolls and GI Joes. They're out there kicking and having fun. You're not expecting them to make adult decisions at this point. They are
Right.
children, and that's how you treat them. But now they're going through a major, major thing in their life. And it's so sad even that we don't have enough health education or resources, and the overall call for defunding of Planned Parenthood just provide information to children about what is happening with their bodies. Because I remember growing up, I didn't know what size tampon I needed. I didn't feel comfortable at home talking to my family and being like, what should I do? I didn't know the difference between super and regular,
Yeah.
and I remember one of the scariest things for me when I started was the fact that you could go into toxic shock syndrome just from using a tampon.
Yep.
And it's like, but what other option do I have? Because the pad you're giving me, and if I go to the nurse, because I didn't know I was starting, because I didn't have enough information to understand, then I'm going to get this every 28 to 31 days and I'm not prepared. Then I'm coming out there and I'm sitting on a flotation device that's so big that Jack could have survived the Titanic and they could have added 3 extra people with Rose. Okay. They could have all made it and floated right on down the river, as big
Yeah.
as those pads were. And as a high school teacher, I definitely experienced that a lot because my female students would come to me and say they need to go to the nurse because they started their time of the month and they weren't aware that they were starting. And mind you, these are like 10th and 11th graders. So we're looking at 16, 17-year-olds that are coming to me telling me this. And I would reach into and I would like have extra pads and I'd be like, here, take one out of my bag. And then my last year, I made a care closet. So I had pads donated. And so then I would just give them my key and be like, just go in the back, just go get a regular one, pick whatever you need, and then just go to the bathroom and go handle yourself. And they were able to be okay. They didn't mess up their pants really. They didn't have to go home. They didn't have to resort to what I've had to, which is tissue paper at times.
Yeah. Yeah. Tissue paper, paper towel. And it just sucks. It sucks, but that's great that you were, that open resource for them. Because a lot of times, like, no, they're ashamed or they're embarrassed. They feel that guilt, but you definitely shouldn't be feeling that way because it's just natural. It's just natural. It's just still considered a taboo, unfortunately. So
Yeah. you know, and then going back to the price of things already being higher. Like we've been dealing with inflation, especially since the pandemic. And we know from congressional hearings that literally those were C-suites deciding to up their money, knowing that they were artificially inflating prices 200 and 300% on products that they did not need to. And yet there was no reprimand, there was no consequences for doing this to the American people during that time. And those prices still stayed there. And then now we're looking at even more inflation as we're going through a recession because we're looking at so many jobs lost. Plenty of women lost their jobs that came out of the workforce during Corona. And then now we've seen the loss of over 300,000 jobs for Black women alone just because of this whole anti-DEI stuff that's going on.
yeah, I don't even feel like it was 300,000. I think it's a lot more than that. I think that was just a cute number they used.
Mhm. All right. So, it's hard affording things, especially trying to afford period products as they go up and you need them. Because if you don't have them, that could lead to further infections and further health issues for you long term, and little children don't understand this. So going back to all these mass layoffs and the economy, I would like for you to tell us about periods of transition.
Yes. So just a little bit about myself. My name is Taylor, of course. I would like to call myself someone who is just a creative at heart. I love storytelling. I'm a dog mom, a fiance. And I got laid off last year of July. I believe it was July 31st of 2024. So I've been still going through that and navigating that. And at that time, to be very transparent, like I did not know what was in store for me. Um, I have a small business as well. So I was thinking, okay, maybe this is the time where God is just like, all right, just lock in on your business and just continue with that, continue pushing that and see how far we can get with that. But as I was going through the motions with that and realizing, like, dang, yes, a job is something that, you need for income stability and such, but I feel like it was so much more. And I started to grieve a lot. Mainly just the idea or the thought of, having something secure, having something that I know that is coming, bi-weekly, just being able to sleep at night, to be honest, because when your bills is paid, you know, you good. And even if
Right?
that is just, you know, being paycheck to paycheck, like you still would be like, okay, I know at least this check is coming so I can cover this bill.
Mhm.
So I didn't really know what was next for me. But I think right now, looking back, I'm just like, dang, like I'm so resilient in a way that turning my pain into something that could be, you know, like a passion for helping others. And I didn't even get the idea for periods of transition until probably like 2.5 months ago. So I just started periods of transition, I believe like August 12th or August 13th. I had the idea and I'm just like, I went to the store and it was the dollar store. And I'm like, okay, this isn't my typical place where I would get my tampons and periods, or excuse me, my tampons and pads. But it was what was affordable for me at the time. And I also
Mhm.
had the thing in my mind, I'm just like, dang, it would be nice if I could just still be able to afford the pads and tampons that I like, which or what I prefer, which is, you know, the organic ones, the 100% cotton, just the ones that I have grown to love as someone who, you know, is a purchaser of period products in itself. So when I had to sit down and realize that, oh dang, I do got to go to the dollar store. And then I went to the dollar store and I was just sitting there, but in my mind, it was kind of playing like a movie. I'm like, is this real life right now? Because all that was left, it wasn't a lot left. It wasn't a lot of pads and tampons on the actual shelf. And then the ones that I was looking for specifically, they were either like scented or they had additives, or they would say they would be cotton, but then when you look on the actual label, there wasn't really anything else to, you know, depict what the actual ingredients were inside of it. Um, but then another thing, I was just thinking, like, you know what? I'm just gonna have to get what would be equivalent to what I use to my other brand, and still just is this cheaper for me because this is a situation I'm in and I need it.
Mhm.
So as I was picking out what I needed, and then I left the store, I'm like, wait, there's no way that for one, I'm unemployed and I'm already on a crunch with money and budgeting and such. And then for two, I also have to still pay for pads and tampons, like period supplies. And not only would it just be, you know, the pads and tampons, but I'm someone who gets really like bad periods, and especially with
Mhm.
cramping and like premenstrual. It's just the worst. So you have to think about medication as well too, and
Yeah.
wipes. So there's more than just the pads and the tampons with it, but you don't really think about those things until you go through the motion of it. So I was
Mhm.
thinking like, dang, if I'm going through this, and thankfully, like I said, I have a fiance, so you know, some things we're still secure. But at the time, I'm also thinking like, what about these other women or about these other people who menstruate? Like, what does life look like for them? And they're unemployed and they can't afford this. And you know, like you were saying, like some people do have to steal, or you know, some women have families or they have lots of kids or they're homeless or they're living in their cars. Like, how are you navigating this? And a lot of people also too, they would have to go to libraries and like get product packages, for like pads and tampons, or they'll go to other like public places just to grab them for free, which is nice. But why do you have to go and run to just to have, you know, that ability to have it? Like it should be something that should be mandated towards you monthly, is what I feel. So
Mhm.
within that, that's kind of how I got started with periods and transition. I'm like, you know what, this shouldn't be like this, and I'm gonna do what I can to help change it.
Right. It's crazy how women have had to fight tooth and nail just to like be included in health insurance alone. You know, because so many things were pre-existing conditions for us that disqualified us. Like the
Mhm.
fact we had to fight to get birth control just to get that. You know, and the fact that some states still don't allow fertility treatment
Mhm.
health insurance. You know, I'm lucky I was in Maryland. I work for Maryland and I was able to use those, you know, but like the federal government didn't have that. I'm like, the federal government of all people doesn't have this at all,
Mhm.
you know, and it's just, it's so literally crazy, you know, to have to fight tooth and nail for these things and still be denied.
Yeah. I agree. I just think too, the more that it gets talked about, I feel like the more that it becomes prevalent because people are starting to realize, like this is the issue, and it's not just Taylor's issue or Jasmine's issue or Takia's issue. Like it's everyone's issue because if we're the ones who are carrying kids, we're the ones who create life, and I think that is essentially like the bare minimum that could happen, especially with the federal government, that they could help provide. um and I want to say this too, is like my essential vision for periods of transition wasn't necessarily to start a nonprofit, but as I was realizing, I'm like, I don't know what God is telling me in this chapter, but what I'm doing right now, I just feel like it's not about me, it's about us and how we can help the community all together. So that's why I was thinking, like, what, okay, maybe it is smart to go about the nonprofit route because it's we all in this. Um, and I have had other like business ideas that I did want it to, like, okay, once the nonprofit is, marketed well and a lot of people are starting to know about it. And I'm like, maybe in a few years, something that could happen with me personally with starting a small business with pads and tampons being organic and helping to have those funds flow into the nonprofit as well too, to just help boost that. And then be someone who can have accessibility for like pads and tampons literally everywhere you go. Like if there's toilet paper, there's this lady named Claire Coda, Claire Coder, and I don't know if you heard about her, but she is very so much on to um uh period poverty and period supplies. And her thing is, if there's toilet paper there definitely needs to be pads and tampons. And I 100% fully agree with that. But like I said, it wasn't like a thing where I'm like, you know what, we just gonna do a nonprofit. Like it was just the idea that I had. And then I put it out there and a lot of people started agreeing. They're like, yeah, it shouldn't be this way. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe in this chapter, it's just meant for me to be the advocate for those who don't have a voice or who have a voice but are scared to speak up or ashamed or embarrassed. So that's what periods of transition is all about. Like not only is it, internally with periods and menstruating, but it's different periods and transition of life that we go through, because a year and a half ago, my life was quote unquote perfect to me, right? But once you go through this specific period of transition, you learn and you understand that, like, hey, any and everything can happen to you, but you just have to just think about other people in different situations. And I think that is something that will help grow us as a community as we continue to push period poverty for sure.
Wow, I thought this had been going on for far longer than 2 months.
Girl, no.
Now you hit the ground running, because please tell us like how it's been going so far. Because I saw what you said, what you reached financially, and then also like how many packages have you been able to do?
Yes. So I put out the idea, I believe like August 13th. Was it? It's either August 12th or August 13th. God was just like, you know what? You got the vision. Just go for it. So I ended up making a GoFundMe page and just trying to workshop what the obvious, what it was for, who I was helping, where I came from, my why, my wish, my mission, and how I wanted to help others. And I just got on Threads and I just started just popping my ish, telling my story. I'm like, look, this is what happened to me. I know what's happening to other women and those who menstruate. So we need to make a change. There's enough money to go around. I'm not even thinking about like, specific situations. I'm just like everybody in itself. Like if you're a woman, if you're unemployed, if you menstruate, fill this out so we can help. And so I made a sign up list. And with that, it kind of took off. I tell my fiance, my mom all the time, I was like, look, I think I girl bossed a little too hard. I girl bossed a little too hard because it just started popping off. And I linked a few things through Amazon. Now, Amazon isn't my preferred way of getting stuff, but I know it's quick. And I know people want to help, they're going to do so. So I was like, look, I'm going to link the Amazon storefront with all the stuff that I think that would be useful for the women. And then I just started getting packages and the donation pile and GoFundMe just started racking up. I was like, okay, cool. This is amazing. Like we're making motion. Like to know that I am not alone in this, like that, in that I was able to help other women and others who menstruate. Like that was a cherry on top for me. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like let's get these orders out. Cause at this point, I am the middleman, right? So I would have people donate or people would send stuff, and then I would package it up, and then I would send it out. And it kind of like kept going. So I think within the first like maybe 5 days, I had like 50 or 60 signups. Like it was something crazy, and it kept climbing, and kept climbing, kept climbing. And then I would update my mom, and she's like, well, you know, you need to put a cap on it because there's a lot of women right now who are unemployed, and I'm sure they can use the period supplies, but you can only do what you can do. And she's like, you're gonna have to put a cap, and then we're just gonna have to go from there. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. So as the days started going by, like they eventually started, you know, having more and more signups. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to put a cap. So I put a cap on the first 140,
Mm.
150. And I figured to myself, I said, okay, I can do these in batches of 50. Now I owned a small business, and so I kind of know how like logistics go and what all that looks like, but I didn't know how this would be because this is a little different, right? So
Mm.
I'm typically used to knowing how to package up candles and perfumes because that's my small business. But when it comes to pads and tampons, things are a little bit more different because you want to make sure when the person gets the package that there aren't any holes or any spills or anything that could puncture in the box. So I'm just really making sure it's all quality assurance. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if I get a box or something from someone, I want to make sure that like it's packed with dignity. It's packed with, you know, luxury. I don't want it to look like it's just something thrown together. But also, I don't have like, you know, a stupid amount of means. And I want to make sure the money can stretch so that it can help fund other things as well, too, with the nonprofit. So my mom's birthday is in September. And I was like, Mom, when you come out here, because she lives in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, when you come out here, you're gonna have to help me. She was like, okay. So we got a lot of things done. And we were able to pack, I believe, about 100 orders. I
Mm-hmm.
still have some to ship out. And based on that, I also did another sign up. So like women who would like to get it, but they're just gonna have to be on the waiting list for now because one, funds, $7,000 does sound like a lot. But when you are the one who is receiving the stuff, when you're packaging, I have to buy labels, I have to buy, you know, boxes to put the pads and tampons in. And I'm also making sure that these women have at least 2 months worth supply of products. I don't want to give them 1 month because 1 month is fine, but you never know what can happen in the next 2 months, or you don't know where you'll be. I know for me personally, if I'm moving, I'm always just like, oh, I have a pad here, I have a tampon there. Like, let me just throw it in this, you know, little bag of stuff that I have that I carry. And so I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted it to be very beneficial for those women who are on the move or, you know, they have it now, but like they don't know where they'll be in like a month. So that was something really near and dear to my heart. I'm like, I wanted to make sure that they have at least 2 months worth of period supplies. So on the other sign up sheet that I do have, I think that one has reached about 400. so so yeah, your girl has been busy and trying to reach out to people to help push it more so that we can get more funds to allocate for it. I know there are some women who are on the waiting list, and then some who are still waiting for the packages as well. But I also wanted to make sure the women have the option, right? So if you prefer pads, you are in this bucket. If you prefer tampons, you're in this bucket. If you want both, you're in this bucket. So that's kind of how I
Mm-hmm.
spread everything up when they fill out the form and what they request. So that's why some things are a little bit more delayed. From my knowledge and what I thought that these women and those who menstruate, I thought they would prefer more of tampons, you know, because, you know, it's the trendy thing, it's easier. But me, I'm a heavy flow girly. And what I've been noticing, okay, a lot of them have been wanting pads, and pads are
Mm-hmm.
expensive. So when I do
Yes.
get these products and stuff from people, a lot of times they're just sending tampons. But my goal is to continue to reach out to these programs or these other businesses to get more pads, seeing that that is more of a need, especially with what I've been seeing with my community of women. So yeah, it's been crazy. It's only barely been 2.5 months. My goal is to serve 1,000 women and those who menstruate by December 31st, 2025. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we're gonna do it. So yeah.
I mean, shoot, you started small and now, wow, that's about 550 signups from what you're telling me from
Yes.
those two signups.
Yes. So it's like we dang near almost there.
Right, right, right. And you're based in Nevada, right?
Yes, correct. Yep, I'm in Vegas.
Vegas. Oh, okay. All right. So, you're telling us all this good stuff. So, tell us like where we could, so also like where have been some of the pitfalls of trying to do this other than just like it's just kind of you, like where have been some other things that you notice have been kind of hard to do, have been kind of difficult?
I would say the main thing is I ain't gonna lie, I like the stories. I'm a very empathetic person. So when I see women sending me emails saying how they're so appreciative for this, it helps me to know that I'm helping them. But it also is just like, dang, like this is the reason why like no one should go through this. And I think because I'm such an empath that it really just, it just hits in my soul. So that's been a struggle to deal with, and learning how to, separate that from, all right, I need to stay mission focused and not get so emotionally involved. um so that's definitely been hard. But like I said too, like logistics, figuring out what type of packaging that I need to have, and also just being limited on funds,
uh,
limited on funds. But you know how that goes. Like you said, like we're the most educated. Black women are we're the most educated, but like we don't have access to much as funds and capital. So I'm working my way through that. So that's been a thing. um I would say it definitely has tested my patience too, because a lot of times, we're thinking like, okay, we want things right then and there. But what I've been learning with this too is just like you kind of have to take your time. Like building a nonprofit is gonna have to take time. You have to take baby steps.
yeah.
So it's just been a learning lesson altogether. But I can say it's been very rewarding. Um,
Mm,
I decided to also host a Friendsgiving style type of dinner for a few women who live in the Vegas area, and I called it Pads Giving. So with this is just, I remember how I felt last year around this time, with the holidays and just feeling depressed, feeling sad, feeling broke, just feeling defeated. And I wanted to extend like that hand to other women because I know what it feels like. And I'm like, hey, let me put together like a Pads Giving. So it's just like a Friendsgiving style dinner where it didn't even got to be like a pity party type thing. They just come, they dress comfy, we fellowship, we talk to one another, we build connection. You get a nice warm meal, and you also leave with free period supplies. So that's something that I'm starting. And then that event will take place on Sunday, November 23rd.
mhm,
So, but yeah, I just my goal is just to continue to grow this connection with women, and um make it community, and to let
mhm.
others know that like you are not alone. You are not alone, because I felt alone for a very long time. So
Yeah. And I get you on the empath part because it's the injustice. That's what's screaming is like, why is this even happening? For what reason? This makes no sense. Like, why is there such a wall here?
mhm,
This, like, this is crazy that this is even happening. Like, y'all don't see how this is ridiculous?
mhm,
Like,
mhm,
it can't just be me.
yep,
And I know I felt that way too, which is why I started mine as well to help out with other people, and what they need. Because it's just like, why aren't these people being helped? I was an
mhm,
educator, so I realized like, I wish I had these things happen for me, and then just being in different things. Like you said, not knowing where a woman's going to be. I've been homeless. So I've lived a few times. I've lived out in my car, I've couch surfed, and, stuff gets lost in transition, So it's like you never know where anything and everything is. And it's just hard, especially you have to replace those and you're already struggling as is,
yep, yep.
you
And
know.
then sometimes it just, like sometimes the pride gets in the way, because it's just like, you need help, but you don't want to ask. But if someone offers, you'd be like, you know what, I will take them up on their offer.
Right, right. And definitely making community because when one person knows that they're not alone, then they feel better and they're able to kind of de-stress and let things out. And
Yeah.
also being a teacher, the best way I learn is through other people.
Hmm.
It's not necessarily from reading a textbook or watching a documentary on TV. It's through having conversation, sharing things and learning new things from other people about things I either never knew about or things that deepen my knowledge about stuff that I had no clue about. And that's just through just talking to different people and just learning from them and listening to them and everything they have.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much. Tell us where we can find you, where we can find to donate, where we can find
Of course.
to your own, because you talked about doing a tour.
Yeah, I would love to do a tour,
that.
girl. Don't be trying to throw that out there and hold me accountable now.
Hey, look, pebble by pebble. I understand. I understand having a plan and being like, you feel bad, like, dang, I haven't done it yet. But you don't realize that you're taking brick by brick. You know, you're building knowledge. Here, you're taking it from here and there. You know, you're putting it together until you get a complete picture. It doesn't always have to be rushed or all at once for you to feel accomplished and you be successful. Sometimes it just takes little itty bitty baby steps and just piecing it all together and taking your time.
Yep. And essentially, like, you don't have to wait to make a difference. You know, the biggest thing for me is just like, I started this with nothing. I just had an idea and a vision and access. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just give it a go. And you know, I understand sometimes too that like some things don't work as fast as that, but I also understand maybe this is God's way of telling me like this is an urgent need and it needs to happen as soon as possible, ASAP. So, but of course you can find me everywhere on Threads, on Instagram. You can follow me on my personal where I be yapping all the time, but I also have I just started my Instagram for periods of transition as well as a Threads account. No, I haven't really posted on there, but feel free to go on there and follow me if you like. I'm just trying to really think about how I want to approach my socials when it comes to this work. So like I can be as reckless as I can and as I want to on my personal, but when it comes to the nonprofit, I really want to position that in a way that really focuses on storytelling. So I'm just taking my time with that. But by all means, feel free to follow me on both. And then if you would like to support to the cause, if you go to either of my Instagram account or my Threads account, you'll see like the link tree with everything linked in there from like the nonprofit aspect. If you want to donate, if you want to, you know, buy supplies from Amazon, if you want to get involved, if you're an influencer or a content creator, you have a whole bunch of PR you want to donate so that we can give to the women as well too. By all means, all the information is there.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for giving me this knowledge. Thank you for, first off, answering my DM because I showed enough slid up in them threads. I was like,
yes, girl. Yes, as you should. I'm all about shooting your shot. Shoot your shot, girl. Shoot your shot.
You know, as a famous proverb goes, even if that's a proverb, I don't know. I'm just saying, a closed mouth don't get fed.
Okay. Period.
So if there's something you want, you got to put it out there. You can't be scared of somebody else hating on you or trying to hold you back because you don't ever know who is watching you.
Yeah.
Even though you can't see who comes past your stuff, you don't know who's watching you. You don't know who's sitting here putting the opportunity out there for you and the opportunities coming towards you because you spoke up and said this. Because ain't nobody's a mind reader. Like I used to tell my students, I might have 4 eyes and this big old forehead, but I can't read the future. So you just gonna have to sit here and tell me what you want. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you again, and you have a good day.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. Bye.